I will start by importing this downloaded zip file, and let's go ahead and create a new project. And copy this code, and let's go ahead and create a new package. And move this one, and let's copy this one, and put it here. And let's refactor this code. And let's add this method, this get method, and this method that maps the AND operator to this character symbol, the OR to this one, and the XOR to this one. And for the purpose of this tutorial, the NAND operator to this symbol, and the NOR to this one, and the XNOR to this one. And we need this method that is the same as this one, except here we are pushing zeros or ones instead of events to represent a formula. So let's go ahead and copy this one and refactor this. This way we can use NAND, NOR, and XNOR instead of being specific to those three operators. And let's use the word representation instead of the symbol, same as here. And let's go up here and here. Now we have all 6 of those operators. And let's go here and replace this one. And let's go here and refactor this method to include NAND, NOR, and XNOR. And let's refactor this code. And here we'll have this hard-coded data. So those are the true false events, and this column has the true false results. And let's add those two methods. So this code here is used to make sure that we don't have conflicting data like those two tuples. So this one, they're the same events, except this one has a result of true and this one has a result of false. And this method is for display purposes. And this one does classification of a vector of events using the formula that we deduced from the data. And this method that handles command line entry ends up calling the classify expression method. Actually, it calls it here. And let's refactor this method and remove the indentation. And let's go to main, and add this code. So we are populating the training data after filtering it through this method. And for this driver, the training data is hard-coded. And we'll handle command line entry by the user here. And let's go ahead and test run the application with the hard-coded data. So after 18 generations, we discovered this formula in regular notation, and in postfix notation it would be this formula. So if we enter this vector of event, so the same events as here, we should get a positive result. And if we entered those events, we should get a negative result. And next, let's go here and pick up this SQLite driver. And we go to properties. And we'll have a driver that will handle data coming from the database. And another driver that will handle data coming from a file. And we will have this class that will create the database and populate it with events and the expected results. So maybe let's have those values for events and expected result. And this method inserts data into the database. So this data, while making sure there is no conflict. And we will make the call to this method from main. But let's go ahead here and define this URL. So the database name will be data.db. and let's go here and remove this hard-coded data, and instead of this method or those two methods, we'll have this method that picks up events and expected results from the database. And we will call this method from here to populate the training data. And if we try to test run it, we will get this exception. So let's go ahead first and create and populate the database. If we do a refresh, this is the database. And now if we run it, we discovered this formula in regular notation for those 4 events, that where the expected result is equal to the calculated result. And this is the formula in postfix notation. So if we try those 4 events, we should get a positive result. And if we try those 4, we should get a negative result. And we arrived at this formula after 9 generations. Started from generation 0. So we have this group of expressions, so 4 expressions in postfix notations. And the fitness is 3, since here we have a match of the expected result and the calculated result, and here, but here we don't have a match. And the fitness is or the groups of expressions are sorted by fitness. So this represents this group of expression in table format. So we can see those two are different here. And let's go ahead and create a new file. So we'll call it data01, and it will have those events, 4 events, and this column of expected results. And let's remove this hard-coded data. And replace those 2 methods. So we pick up the data from the file and we filter contradicting data, and we'll call this method from here. And let's go ahead and test run it. So we ended up with this formula in regular notation, or written this way in postfix notations. And if we have this vector of 4 events, we end up with a positive result. And this vector of 4 events, we end up with negative result. And we found that formula after 3 generations.